Jersey sure is going to get the brunt of the storm first.
We have Dan Bowens live in Seaside Heights with the very latest as the storm progresses in his direction. The rain has picked up, Dan.
Absolutely, Dave and Rosanna, good morning. You know, as the sun starts to come up here in Seaside Heights in Ocean County, we're starting to see our first little bits of damage. This sign was obviously attached to one of the buildings, one of the structures here on the boardwalk of Seaside Heights. I found it behind me just a few minutes ago and obviously had blown off some of these strong gusting winds that we're beginning to see with this storm. One thing I'm taking a close look at, you can see that Coca-Cola sign just behind me there. We've seen wind gusts, according to NOAA, about 36 miles per hour. That's just below tropical storm force winds, which are right at about 39 miles per hour. But you can see that sign sort of starting to rip apart there in the back and on top. You know, as we start to hear some of these forecasts, as we start to take a closer look at the track of this storm, really it's not a matter of if this thing is going to hit us, but when is it going to hit us and how bad is it going to be. As you heard Mike mention, it's about 350 miles south of where I am here in Seaside Heights. We're in Ocean County. Just as a point of reference, Seaside Heights is a peninsula between the Atlantic Ocean and a bay. Take a look behind me. You can see some of the strong wind gusting here. And as we first start to get these first little peaks of sunshine, I can tell you that the sight is not pretty. Look at the ocean. Waves 10 feet tall. You can see some of the suds now crashing onto the boardwalk. We're expecting high tide right around 7:30 this morning, and that's when we're going to see tide above about 10 feet. Of course, Governor Christie has issued a mandatory evacuation for all the barrier islands and the Atlantic City casinos. Still, we spoke to some people who are still on the fence about whether they were going to leave. Listen to what this family had to say just a few hours ago.
Yeah, we decided to stay. We just want to feel more comfortable being in our own house. Sanded up a little bit with the sandbags. We were lucky enough to get a generator. I just feel more comfortable being home. Unless it gets where the water really starts coming up, then I'll head to my brother's in Whiting.
Now, we know certainly that this storm can be dangerous. We remember with Hurricane Irene, there were more than 50 people who died because of that storm. One person who lost their life in that storm was an emergency responder who went out. He was trying to help someone who got stranded on a roadway after they had told people not to go on the roadways, not to drive out there. So certainly that's something to keep in mind. When they tell you to shelter in place, it's time to shelter in place. You should stay in place because you're putting other lives at risk. I told you the Atlantic Ocean started to creep up. In about a half an hour, we're going to see that high tide. We'll be here and we'll be able to show it to you. Steve and Rosanna, I'm going to toss it back to you for now.
All right. Thank you very much.